Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another CNIC webinar. My name is Evan Cameron, and I'm the Manager of Public Affairs and Communications here at the CNIC. Thank you so much for joining us on this late August morning for what I think will be a very interesting discussion with one of the CNIC's newest academic partners, the University of Toronto, Scarborough. As we at the CNIC are often highlighting, the global isotope ecosystem is growing rapidly. Increased demand for diagnostic scans, innovative radiopharmaceuticals, theranostics, and industrial isotope applications are resulting in a rapidly expanding global market. In order to meet this growing demand we see at home and abroad, we need to build the isotope workforce across this country and across a very broad spectrum of roles and skill types. That's where our friends at the University of Toronto Scarborough Arts and Science Co-op office come in. By introducing young professionals to the isotope industry earlier during their studies, we can help ensure that our workforce grows at the scale necessary to meet this remarkable demand, and that young people are made aware of the critical work that Canada's isotope ecosystem is leading every single day. Along with the important information that will be shared today by the U of T Co-op team, we're also pleased to be joined by some representatives from Magnet, a national organization that has some very exciting funding opportunities available to support the hiring of these young professionals. There will be two different presentations throughout today's webinar, and you will also have an opportunity to submit your questions to both the presenters from U of T and from Magnet. At the top of your screen, you'll see a Q&A function, which you can use to submit those questions, and I will address as many of them as we can get to during the two Q&A sessions. With that, I'm very pleased to introduce you to Antonella Poon, who is the team lead for external relations and industry partnerships at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. Over to you, Antonella.
Thank you, Evan. Hello, everyone. We're very excited to see you all this morning. I can see a few familiar names with us today as well, which is great. For those of us who have not yet met, my name is Antonella. I'm a team lead, external relations and industry partnerships representing Arts and Science Co-op at our Scarborough campus. And as Evan mentioned, we'll kick off with an overview of co-op at the University of Toronto and how this can support building the next generation of leaders through co-op talent pipelines. Then for the second half of this webinar, we'll pass over to our funding partner, Magnet, which I'm sure everyone will be very excited to hear more about. It's usually our more popular presentation. So with that, I will share my screen. And please, if somebody can let me know when things have shown up and that I'm good to get started.
Yes,
okay,
we can see
great.
it.
Perfect. So I'm confident that our reputation precedes us here as the #1 university in Canada, but we also like to highlight that this is true per subject discipline as well. So across engineering and tech, life sciences, natural sciences, social sciences and management, and arts and humanities. Specific to this group in the audience today here, we also are ranked second in the world for medical research and actually fourth in the world for nuclear medicine and medical imaging, which I thought was pertinent to highlight. It was an interesting tidbit for us to find out as well. As you know, the university is quite large. And obviously, we are here today because we have met massive growth in this industry in a relatively short time frame. We saw these industry signals and we reached out to the CNIC team because we wanted to understand what this would mean in terms of real world impact and how the University of Toronto could fit in. So as mentioned in the report that was produced by CNIC, a secure isotope workforce for 2030 and beyond will be very pertinent, very key, with a need to increase the workforce by at least 33% over the next few years. Through our consultative conversations with many of you in the audience today, we actually learned that succession planning is a key concern with the aging subject matter experts leaving the workforce, as well as specifics for high demand roles that may or may not be considered more niche to the actual workforce who's applying. So our hope is that we have a solution for this conundrum here today. At the University of Toronto, more than 17,000 of our students participate in what we call experiential and service learning, as well as work integrated learning. So we are evolving as a university from not just having world-class theoretical and academic-based teachings, but actual real-world embedded application-based learning from experience. These experiential and service learning programs include co-op, which give the students the opportunity to work full-time as an employee with an organization for a duration of 4 up to 12 months, and in some cases more than 12 months. Our students come pre-prepped with U of T's well-known academic rigor, and in addition to this, we train them with an additional set of workplace readiness courses, which can include topics such as how to communicate effectively, what is leadership, emotional intelligence in the workplace, which is becoming a very pertinent topic, data literacy, how to make presentations to a specific audience, design thinking, etc. The great news is that we are a centralized program. So obviously myself and Ed, we work at the Scarborough campus, but we represent thousands of students, over 150 academic programs across all 3 campuses. And we've seen interest from this audience specifically previously for students in programs such as public policy, environmental sciences, chemistry, engineering, computer science, data science, finance, and marketing, and more. We have very unique programs, including one called environmental geophysics. So that's one interesting thing that I'd love to highlight. And the benefits of hiring co-op students for our CNIC members here today specifically, I wanted to touch on the point of succession planning and future-proofing hiring decisions. So not only are there financial benefits, which our Magnet team will share more about, but we have all experienced recruitment fatigue at some point, I'm sure. We've seen example over example in our department of a previous co-op student returning to the same organization post-graduation, essentially coming pre-trained and pre-exposed to organizational processes as a tried and tested hire. I've also seen our co-op students who have worked in a similar field at a different company obtain full-time hires actually within CNIC membership because they come with that experience and they're now bringing it to your organization. They already have the training. They've actually been in a workplace. They come as an experienced entry-level hire. When thinking ahead to reaching Ontario's goals of doubling isotope production by 2030, we sincerely hope that our programs can help contribute and prep us actually for continued stability past 2030. Our partnership here is very, very close. So our team will help you with every step from the interest phase through to during work-term support. I like to say that our programs come with a little bit of a safety blanket. Somebody will always be available to answer your questions. Somebody will be able to support your students. Somebody will be able to pick up the phone if you need just like a quick consult. We're always here, and we take pride in our close partnerships with our employers, helping you every step of the way. Sometimes I even act as tech support as needed. So it's a benefit that we all can provide here. And for the overview portion, I'll close with what I'm sure we're all interested in, and we've alluded to this a few times. There are structures in place to support with the costs associated with hiring a full-time term employee. The federal government offers wage reimbursement subsidies, for which our partner Magnet is one of the funding partners of. And the province of Ontario also provides a refundable tax credit on eligible expenditures incurred by the corporation for a qualifying work placement. There's additional things such as Canada Summer Jobs, which I believe folks are more aware of, and MyTax, which is a specific type of funding partner, which we can share more information about if there's interest. Our team member here, Ed, is able to meet and consult with any of the folks on the line today as well. So that's the short presentation portion. I'd like to keep the details, the didactic portion, as short as possible. And we've prepared a mini workshop, try to get the creative minds flowing this morning. So how this will work is I've included a bunch of keywords on the left that could be, supplementary tasks or job duties that you guys are actually doing on a day-to-day. And on the right-hand side, we have a question. And we would love to have folks come off mute if possible to pop in and answer this question, or even just type it in the chat. And as we get answers, I'll move over just to see how we're doing. So the first question I'd like to ask the group here today is, do any of these tasks on the left here require a significant amount of your team's time and attention right now?
Just jumping in there to Nella to flag that unfortunately the software doesn't allow attendees to unmute. They're probably all looking for the unmute button at the moment.
No problem. We'll monitor the chat.
Exactly. Feel free to put your comments in the chat, folks.
Actually, why don't I start with you, Evan, while I have you off mute?
Huh,
Um,
absolutely.
do you have anything that you'd like to flag as a task that currently requires a significant amount of your time and attention that I can move over?
Absolutely. Well, I'm the manager of public affairs and communications, so I would say let's move over communications because that definitely takes up a lot of my attention. Um, Other ones, let's see. Oh, we have something here in the chat. Process improvement and optimization.
Thank you, Daniela. Do we have anyone else in the chat here who have any of these tasks, maybe such as digital systems or reporting? Perfect. Quality assurance, I'll move that one over. Administrative support, that's usually a popular one.
Of course.
Stakeholder engagement. Radiation protection. Social media marketing, that's a good one. Research and radiochemistry. Trying to find where I put it. Research, where's my research one? There we go. Radiochemistry, reporting. Quality control. Maybe I'll give it a few more minutes. Project management, that's a good one. Okay, great. So we've got, at least half of these moved over, which is great. Actually, on that point, the next question that we have is, could any of these tasks be delegated to a junior team member or administrative support staff with the appropriate training? So it doesn't have to be the same ones that we answered on the previous slide. It could be a new one that maybe you're doing that currently doesn't take too much of your time, but maybe you want to offboard it or offload it to a junior team member. So we can get really creative with this one as well. I can get started. I have been offboarding a few of our regulatory compliance requirements, reporting, answering questions and stuff to our team members on my team. So I'll start there. Move over reporting, process improvement, admin. That's always a popular one. I've also myself been offloading finance, small things to the team members. So I'll move that over as well. Automation, that's a great one. Yes, sorry,
I
go
think I
ahead.
would also jump in and say stakeholder engagement would be a really great thing to delegate a little bit of.
Yes, that's the keyword,
Yeah.
research. Do we have any data folks on the line today or computer science folks that may want to chime in? It's not my area of expertise, so I'd love to hear more. Okay. Always struggling to find the radiochemistry one. There we go. Okay. The last question we have for you is, with supervision and onboarding, could any of these tasks actually be performed by a student? And I put U of T student particularly because we like to highlight that our students are the best in class. So I'll go first. We've actually recently been doing a lot of data analysis with our students, a lot of business intelligence and reporting. So I'll move those over as the starting point. Process improvement, quality control, it's a good one. Social media, great opportunity, communications minded, that's wonderful. Business analysis, perfect.
I think
Administrative
stakeholder
support,
engagement could get thrown over there again.
yeah, that's a good one. Oops. That's a good one. Oh, data entry, I'll put that over. That's a really good one as well. Okay. AI tools. Ooh, that one's a new one. We haven't seen that come up yet. And radiochemistry. Awesome. So actually, big surprise for the group here today. These keywords were pulled from existing co-op work terms that our students are currently doing with CNIC member organizations. So we wanted to make sure that we provide the maximum impact here. All of our students across these 6 business areas right now are doing those exact tasks with CNIC members as full-time term employees on 4, 8, 12, or 16-month work terms. So we have students currently doing equipment testing, instrumentation. We have students working on medical isotope production, environmental compliance, all of the ones that we've moved over, even specifically health physics, regulatory compliance, technical documentation. So these are all really great, I guess, thought-provoking or starting ideas for the team in the audience here today to kind of see, oh, maybe, you know, we could find somebody on the team that needs support, or these are just kind of starting points for you to take a look at. So these are the actual job titles that we have the students working in, that those keywords were pulled from. So within IT, we have cybersecurity, data analytics, supply chain is a big one, most of the engineering disciplines. In medical isotopes specifically, we have research assistants, radiation protection, environmental and regulatory is a good one. We have environmental technologists here, occupational health and safety, and lastly, in operations and management, finance, we've got waste management, stakeholder engagement. So these are all the current, or these is a sampling of the current job titles that our students hold within CNIC member organizations as co-op students. So hopefully that was eye-opening. We wanted to make sure that we captured those. And so when you are thinking about how could a student fit in on my team, we like to ask these few questions to help people get started. So we often act as consultants. Many people we work with don't come with a pre-ready, like I have a specific job description. We like to consult. We will create the job description with you. We will ask things such as what work is important but affected by your capacity? Does this work affect access, equity, and or patient experience? What could a co-op student contribute to without replacing regulated clinical workflows? What are your desired outcomes? And what kind of supervision or training would be required? So we've actually created a workshop, a worksheet that is like in a PDF form. We will be sending this out at some point after the webinar so that you can get started on jotting down ideas. We would then take this and help you create a job posting that is specific to a co-op student. So just like an example of how our team can support in a consultative and thought leadership manner. And that's it for the U of T co-op and arts and science co-op overview portion of the webinar. We have QR codes here if you're interested in learning more and speaking with Ed. He can share more details with you. You can scan the QR code on the left. And then we also have a specific hiring event for co-op students. If you are one of the few who have an active requisition that you'd like to fill, students who are available for January start dates will be attending this event en masse on September 29th, and you can scan the QR code on the right here to express your interest and learn more. So with that, I'll pause, and I believe we're going into a short Q&A session. Okay, perfect.
Thanks so much for that presentation, Antonella. Very, very fascinating. Great to see such good engagement from the folks in attendance here today. Brief Q&A session at this point, folks, for the team from U of T. We do have a few questions already rolling in. Feel free to keep submitting them using the Q&A button right at the top of your screen. So first question for you, Antonella. What makes arts and science students unique compared to other disciplines that also may be relevant for the isotope sector, such as engineering? And what roles are these students better suited for?
Yes, I think I can start with the arts students. So as you know, I guess in the audience here, the CNIC team are also composed of arts and social sciences disciplines. We actually have public policy students, international policy students, political science students. We've met with a bunch of folks in the industry who are working in government affairs, regulations, and we found that there's a great niche for these types of students specific to support the sector there. In the sciences, we have environmental sciences, we have medicinal and biological chemistry programs, we have pharmacology programs. We also have data science, statistics programs. So in the actual more, I guess, the scientific side of things, in the research, in the ligand binding, like we have those disciplines and they're all being taught very specific coursework that could help prepare them better to be applicable. I think also the benefit of U of T co-op as a whole is that because we have so many students across all three campuses, any kind of student that you can think of, we probably have them. So we have marketing students, we have folks in HR programs even who can support talent acquisition teams. So it's quite broad. And with the scale of the university, the student cohorts are, massive. And with our reputation, our students, they come with academic rigor that is competitive with the rest of the world. So that's how I would answer that question.
That's great. Thanks, Antonella. The questions keep coming in, but we have a little bit more time, folks, so feel free to keep submitting them if anything else comes up. Another one for you, Antonella. For organizations that may have never hired a co-op student before, what does the process actually look like? You get, from the employer's perspective, you gave a great overview there, but I think the attendees maybe want a bit more details. How much involvement is required from the organization? What does it actually look like?
Sure. So our partnership includes what we call an external relations representative who is paired to you. So that person can help you post the job. We can help you schedule interviews. We can help you trigger offers to students. We also essentially are available to craft job descriptions if you need support. There's also a self-service job portal option where you can log in directly and post directly if you'd like. So it's very customizable. We're very flexible. We follow a standard recruitment workflow. So there's a job posting that gets posted to our job board, which is exclusive to co-op students. So any applications that you get from this job board specifically, you know that those students are already enrolled in eligible co-op programs. We will send you the applications that come in as a bundle in a PDF. You can review the resumes, cover letters, transcripts as well. You can let us know or submit through the portal who you'd like to interview. Our teams can help schedule interview times. And then we can let you know how to contact the students to send out meeting links or interview links and such. So there's a lot of supports available. A typical timeline, I would say, with the job posting can go up for a week. Interviews maybe take place the week after, and then the offers would take the place the week after that. Things can be very truncated if you need us to. We can do things, we like to say, in 10 business days, like from start to end, as like the truncated timeline. Things can also take longer than that if needed. So that's kind of how I would overview the recruitment process in a nutshell. And if there's any specific follow-up questions, I'm happy to elaborate more as well.
That's great. Thanks so much, Antonella. We've just got one more come in. Maybe we have time to address it. This is a very good question, actually. For a smaller organization that may not have the capacity to bring on a student for a very traditional or super structured role, is there flexibility on how those positions can be designed?
Yes, so we actually do have many folks who are more startup size or smaller teams who hire students, and these students are, behaving in independent roles. So even we hire our own co-op students. We, practice what we preach. Our student is quite independent. She runs daily reports. She manages our inbox, triaging requests all independently. She's familiar with who to reach and when and why. She can create reports on her own, presentations on her own. So there are many organizations who follow similar models with smaller teams. Students are a little bit more independent. We have many teams who are fully remote and have success with students on work term in a fully remote capacity as well. As long as the job description captures like a university level skill set that is required, then we would more than happy to consult with you and figure out ways to do that. And our students, as mentioned, they come with workplace readiness training. So we're not starting from ground zero. They've been trained on, effective communication, design thinking. So hopefully that also helps with that. And in that environment, a startup environment or a smaller team size environment, pertinent to that is the funding availability to help with covering the costs of a co-op student.
Excellent. That's very helpful, Antonella. Thanks so much. This has been so so beneficial, I think, for the attendees here and the folks who will be watching later as well. I think I'll hand it back to you, Antonella, to now introduce our friends over at Magnet and some of the excellent funding opportunities they have available to actually make what we've spoken about this morning a reality.
Perfect. So the University of Toronto co-op programs have established friendships with many of the funding partners to support with making sure that we provide like a full cycle support on hiring a co-op student. So Magnet is one of those partners that we mentioned from the Student Work Placement Program, which is the federal government wage subsidy. And we have Lindsay and Rita here online today to support with walking through the program itself, eligibility criteria, etc. So I'll introduce you, Lindsay, and pass it over to you when you're ready.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Antonella. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, all those at U of T. And also at CNIC, Evan, thank you so much. Melody, thank you. This is wonderful. And finally, I do want to definitely give a shout out to all you employers on the call. I know you are busy. Everyone's busy these days, and it's still technically the summer. So I really appreciate having the opportunity to share information with you about this. What I'm going to do is just share my screen right now. Here. So I'll be delivering this webinar here, or delivering the information in the slides. And my colleague Rita is here. She's wonderful. She knows so much detailed information about SWIP. And so if you have any questions along the way, feel free to type them in the Q&A box, and we will be able to answer them throughout the slides here as well as afterwards. So without further ado, we'll get into it. So I'll very briefly just talk about what is Magnet. So Magnet, it is an NGO. We're housed within Toronto Metropolitan University. We're focused on the future of work, and we're a center of innovation. Now, SWIP, otherwise known as the Student Work Placement Program, in terms of the funding, as an employer, you can get up to 50% of the wages to a maximum of $5,000 per eligible placement. So from the employer perspective, employers can get wage subsidies to support work integrated learning, so otherwise known as WIL. So this is like co-op internship, to hire post-secondary students for paid work experiences. The students, from their perspective, they get quality work experience so they can secure employment in their chosen fields of study. So the Student Work Placement Program is funded by the Government of Canada, specifically Employment and Social Development Canada. There's a total of 18 SWIP delivery partners, and Magnet is one of those 18. And most delivery partners, they are industry specific. Magnet is actually able to support all sectors, all industries. So this is a visual breakdown of really the numbers here when it comes to cost. So imagine you are company ABC and you're hiring a co-op associate for the fall. And based on that wonderful little exercise, I'm going to say maybe it is a stakeholder engagement co-op associate or a quality control associate for the fall. So again, these are just imaginary numbers. Imagine you pay them $24 an hour for full-time work, 36.5 hours per week, and imagine it's 16 for a total of 16 weeks. So you can do the math on that. And you can see you can also include gross salary costs. And in this case, we're going to say $484, and it totals to $14,500. Company ABC is able to receive the full subsidy of $5,000. So instead of the cost of the placement at the end of the day being $14,000, $14,500, in fact, is only $9,500. So I'm going to go into some eligibility criteria. There's 4 big buckets of eligibility, and I will show you our website afterwards where you can find this information. So I'll do a little tour of that in a few slides from now. So we'll start off with employer eligibility. So you do have to be a Canadian private sector or not-for-profit employer. We do have a short list of ineligible employers who are on our website, and I'll show you where to find that in a few minutes. You do have to provide a quality work integrated learning experience. So being in touch with U of T, they're going to be able to support you with that. You do have to pay the student salary. So this is, you do have to have the student on your payroll. So It can't be a contractor, it can't be a subcontractor type of role. And you do have to have the financial capacity to pay the student throughout the placement. So for the purpose of SWIP, you submit an application, you're in touch with us, we're in touch with you throughout the placement. Once the placement comes to an end, or once our funding term comes to an end, whichever was first, again, we're in touch with each other. We'll provide you with some final documents to complete. And once we receive everything, all the documents look like they're in good shape, we're then able to provide payment, and you receive official approval. So it's at that time. So just so you know, you are providing payment to the student throughout, and it's at the very end that you're receiving payment once we receive all the documents and they're in good shape. So you do have to be compliant with government regulations. That's sort of obvious. This includes like the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the Employment Standards Act, that sort of thing. Another big bucket of eligibility is student eligibility. So the student does have to be registered as a domestic student. They do have to be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or person to whom refugee protection has been conferred under the IRPA. So international students are not eligible. So if you're wanting to apply for SWIP, just be in touch with U of T from the get-go to let them know that you're applying to SWIP, so that they can ensure that, or altogether, we're all ensuring that the student eligibility criteria is met. The student, for the sake of student eligibility, they do have to be undertaking a placement that is recognized as a WIL opportunity in connection with a course, degree, certificate, diploma, or other recognized program offered by the institution. So co-op would be one of those. And the placement can be recognized as optional or for credit or not for credit for the purpose of SWIP, but it's based on today, you know, we're talking about co-op. So this would be part of the requirement of the students' program. It does have to be a full or part-time program for any program of study. And a final point to note here is that it can't be an immediate family member of the employer. I will actually just draw your attention to this box in the top right-hand corner. So when you're completing the application process for SWIP, there is a portion that asks for the student's email address, and please ensure you're including the official email address. So the official email address that's associated with U of T. Don't include something like Lindsay@gmail for the student's email address. Another big bucket of eligibility is placement funding eligibility. So something to keep in mind for sure, you cannot combine it with other federal funding programs. So if you're applying in the future for Canada Summer Jobs, you won't be able to pair it with SWIP funding. Canada Summer Jobs may allow it, but for the sake of receiving SWIP funding, you won't be able to pair it with another federal funding partner. You can stack funds as long as it's not federal, so it could be partial provincial, territorial, or municipal. But something to keep in mind is that you won't be able to double dip, so you wouldn't be able to receive more funding back than you actually provided to the student. So for example, if you're getting 60% provincial grant funding, then for Magnet, you would be able to, if all eligibility is met, you'd be able to receive the 40% remaining from Magnet. And then another point here is tax credit compliance. So employers do have to follow the provincial tax credit guidelines and are encouraged to consult a tax professional. So as part of Magnet and SWIP powered by Magnet, we're not able to assist with the tax credit compliance, but that would be something that we'd encourage you to be in touch with a tax professional or U of T about. And then the fourth bucket is placement eligibility. So eligible placements, they can be full-time or part-time positions for the sake of SWIP. It cannot be for subcontractor roles. It can't be for contractor positions. Those are not eligible. It cannot be for apprenticeship roles. So Melody, I know you may be able to drop some of the links here. We do have one link about the Red Seal Trades website. So if you happen to be hiring for something that's listed on the Red Seal Trades website, that will not be eligible for SWIP, nor would clinic hours in healthcare. So for example, nursing or articling hours for lawyer candidates, those aren't eligible either for the sake of SWIP. It cannot be filled by the business owner, and it can't be for an existing employee. And I'm going to do a little asterisk here about its existing employee. If you recently hired a student within the past year, not to worry about that. When we talk about existing employee, it's more someone who you've had for a year and more. And if you have any questions, you can just send us an email about that, and I'll provide that information on our on one of the future slides in a second. It does have to be aligned with the post-secondary education program of participating student and approved by the required representatives from the student's post-secondary institution. So as I mentioned before, just be in touch with U of T about looking for SWIP funding when you're hiring a student, just to ensure that's all in good shape there. And then a final point here is that you do have to meet requirements of a net new placement as defined by ESDC, so the Government of Canada. So I'm going to go into that. For some of you, you may be aware of SWIP over the several years. It's been in existence for several years. There has been a recent update a few recent updates as of April 1st, 2026. So one of the big updates was that net new requirements, it only applies to organizations with 100 or more employees. So if you have fewer than 100 employees, 99 or fewer, you don't have to worry about net new requirements. So this is great. In fact, if you're on the call right now and this doesn't apply to you, feel free to multitask, do whatever you got to do. I'll pull you back in a second, okay? But for those on the call who have 100 or more employees, this is relevant for you. There is a lot of information on this slide. And so what you can do, we do have a calculator that not only is built into the application process, but it's also built into our website. So if you use either the URL here or you just use the QR code, you'll be able to use that calculator. Right from the get-go, you'll know if the eligibility criteria is met, if you have 100 or more employees regarding net new. So employers who wish to participate in SWIP, they do have to demonstrate a projected increase, and this is from the number of students hired in what we call the baseline year versus the number of students they plan to hire in the current fiscal year. So we have an equation. You're going to forecast the current fiscal year, and when we're talking about fiscal year, this is April 1st to March 31st, minus the baseline. So the baseline is the fiscal year prior to first participating in SWIP. So some of you might already be on our website and you're going to see, okay, what does that exactly mean? But the questions that are asked within this calculator really simplify that process. Some of you may be wondering, okay, what are we talking about when we say students? So we're talking about only post-secondary students who have been paid. So if you've had students in the past that haven't been paid or they're volunteer positions, don't count those ones. And when we're talking about students, it's post-secondary students, so don't include high school students, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is just back out of here. I'm going to go to our website and I'll do a quick overview of our website, swipprogram.ca. It will be up in a slide as well in a moment, but that is our website URL. You'll see you can start an application by pressing that big red button there. You can scroll down here. We have our eligibility snapshot. So just like I was doing those 4 big buckets of eligibility, these are here. If you click on the employers must be, there is a section referring to ineligible employers. So please, before submitting an application, just cross-reference this to make sure you're not one of those employers on that short list. And then the net new calculator. So you just scroll down on the main page of our website. We have this net new calculator. You'll see some very simple questions. If you have 100 or fewer, if you have 99 or fewer employees, you won't even be able to proceed with this calculator. But if you have more, then you'll be prompted with a few little questions and it will be a simplified process, okay? So what I'll do is I'll come back here. For those of you who have, for those of you who have 99 or fewer employees in your organization, I'll bring you back here. What I'm going to say, and this is for everyone, is that, of course, everything that I've said today, of course, it's going to be important. But if you were to come away from today's little session, remembering 4 things in particular about SWIP, these are the 4 I'd strongly recommend. You've got to meet all the eligibility criteria, including net new criteria if you have 100 or more employees. The students do have to be on your payroll, so no contractors, no subcontractors. The subsidy is provided retroactively. So like I mentioned before, you're providing payment throughout the placement. We're in touch with you, you're in touch with us. Once the placement comes to an end, or once the funding term comes to an end, again, we'll be in touch. We'll provide you with some final documents. And once we receive everything, it all looks like it's in good shape. That's when we provide payment. And that's why we say approval comes at the end. It's once we provide payment, that's when approval happens. So next steps, like I mentioned, there are funding terms. So in general, these are the timeframes for the funding terms. So we have a summer funding term, usually early May to end of August, a fall funding term, usually early September to end of December, and a winter funding term, usually early January to end of March. So that winter one's usually a bit shorter. There are some asterisks here, so I did want to let you know we're not totally sure if we're going to have our winter funding term open this particular year. It may be, but it may not be. So we'll be just keep checking our website. There will be more information included along the way. At the very top of it, we always let people know which funding terms are open. And we usually open our funding terms about 1 month to 2 months ahead of when the term is actually there, okay? Once you can actually submit an application, it usually opens about 1 to 2 months ahead of time. So we do have these two terms that are currently open right now. This is the summer term. So if you had a student throughout the summer and you haven't yet submitted an application, please, we'd encourage you to submit an application. The funding term, this portal, we will have it open until the end of the month. It may be open a little longer, but we're definitely going to have it until the end of this month, until August 31st. The fall funding term, it's currently open. So even if you don't yet have a student, feel free to submit an application. You can do that and then populate the student information afterwards. And if you're planning on hiring more than 10 students, please send us an email. We can streamline the process for you. So this is our email address, swip@magnetnetwork.ca, and you'll be able to find all the information that I was showing before on that little walkthrough on swipprogram.ca. Great. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing here. Wonderful. And should I just pass it back to you, Evan?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that excellent presentation, Lindsay. I think very thorough overview of the funding available, and definitely an important factor for our members on the call to consider when hiring a co-op student. At this point, we once again have some time for Q&A. So please feel free to use the Q&A box that's up at the top of your screen and submit any questions you may have for Lindsay and the team at Magnet. We have one from Antonella. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of rejoin everything. So with the Magnet team, the U of T co-op team, whoever you work with will be able to field like, the easier questions. We will consult with you, help you with the application for the documentation required. And, if you needed to be connected directly with the Magnet team, we would facilitate that. So that's how U of T and the funding partners work together. Like I mentioned earlier, when working with co-op students in the context of considering a SWIP application, if you work with the universities, we can confirm student eligibility and make sure that those things are safeguarded so that when you reach the application step, we don't get sorry, we cannot accept your application because your student's not eligible. We've seen that happen before when employers have hired students outside of co-op programs. For example, if you hire a U of T student, and they're not in the co-op program and that's not been checked beforehand, you can run into these issues. So we do encourage working together with both Magnet and U of T at the same time, just to safeguard those things and make efficiencies for your very valuable time. So that is why we joined together to have this webinar for our wonderful CNIC members today.
That's great. Thank you, Antonella. A few questions coming in through the Q&A function, but folks feel free to keep them coming. A lot of questions on first-time co-op hirers, potentially. So a question here, could you walk us through the first step for a company that's interested in accessing this funding, though they've never had a co-op placement before? Where should they start in creating a program that will actually be eligible for the funding based on the criteria that you shared?
That's a great question. And I'm just wondering, Antonella, did you want to sort of start off in terms of the co-op and then we can go into SWIP afterwards?
Yes, sure. Evan, can you repeat the question for me? It's a bit long.
Yeah, of course. It kind of similar to a question I asked you earlier, Antonella, about a company that's interested in getting a co-op student, interested in accessing this funding, but they've never done it before. How should they create the program that will actually ensure they're eligible for this funding?
Yes, so regardless of the job description, I believe, and Lindsay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if it's a co-op student who's registered as a co-op student within the University of Toronto or at any university that has co-op, we would then be able to provide you a letter that says this student is registered and enrolled in a co-op, an accredited co-op program. And then that would be attached to the application. In terms of like what program or what kind of job, like I mentioned earlier, we have multidisciplinary students and multidisciplinary jobs. So we submit applications, support applications to Magnet for computer science students, and also on the other side for psychology and mental health study students working at a small clinic. So it's very variety of options for the types of roles and the types of programs. But in terms of like the actual eligibility, the university would need to be able to verify that eligibility. And the best way to do that is to hire through the university.
That's great. And what I can also do here is I'm just going to do a shared screen. And Melody, if you wouldn't mind sharing this one pager, which is one of the links, what I can do is I'm going to include this. There's actually two things that I'm going to do. I guess we have a little bit of time. Maybe I'll walk through this. And Evan, let me know along the way if you'd prefer that I just skip over the video. But this is a step-by-step process of the. Oh, I'm going to pull all of you over into my other screen. A step-by-step process of the journey, and then I can show an application process. So when you're going into the portal, the actual step-by-step process for submitting an application. Would that be helpful? Yeah, okay. So this is a step-by-step process. So you'd start off by applying online, and this can even be before you have a student in mind. Feel free to submit an application. It is first come, first serve, but if you're in touch with U of T first about this, they do have a reserve list. And so we do set aside money for U of T students or employers that are submitting applications through U of T. Okay, so one or the other, feel free to do that. Then you'd go to step 2. This is when we do an update for the intake queue. So you'll be put in touch, as long as there is funding, you'll be put in touch with a SWIP team member. It doesn't mean that, again, the approval is going to happen. You still have to meet the eligibility criteria and respond in a timely fashion to us when it comes to the documents that we're going to request. But this is a great step, okay, that you're going to go on to the step 2, you get assigned to a SWIP team member. At this point, you move along to step 3, which is when the SWIP team member will review your application for eligibility. If everything looks like it's in good shape, we'll move along to step 4. This is where the SWIP team will provide various documents. So as the employer, you'll receive a terms and conditions document. There is a proof of work integrated learning document, proof of, well, we say the proof of will eligibility letter, which is what Antonella was referring to before. This is something that you as the employer, you're going to be providing that to U of T, where they will complete it and submit it back to us. The student will be provided with a student consent form that will send directly to their official email address of U of T. And then once we receive all of those, they look like they're in good shape. That's when you move along to step 4. There's a midterm check-in. This is as well, if you've never submitted an application through Magnet for wage subsidy in the past, you'll also complete a vendor registration form. Fairly straightforward. Step 6 is where you'll receive an email from TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University. So if you remember at the beginning of the presentation, I just mentioned that Magnet is housed within Toronto Metropolitan University. So just make sure you're checking your junk, your spam folders. That's where TMU will send information about electronic fund transfer. And once they receive that and everything looks like it's in good shape, then we move along to step 7. This is where we will be in touch about a payment attestation form, an invoice template. There'll be the employer and student survey, which are sent out, and we'll also be requesting a first and last pay stub. Once we receive all that, it looks like it's in good shape. Then you move along to step 8, which is a final review. We review everything that you've submitted once it all looks like it's in good shape, and we'll be in touch with you if we need little edits or updates. And once that looks like it's all looking good, that's when the payment processing occurs. So I know that's quite a mouthful. There's a lot of steps involved, but it is very much simplified by this process. And if you just refer to that sheet, even if you don't receive it today, then what you could do is be in touch with U of T, and they're able to provide this document to you, or reach out to us at SWIP, swipprogram.ca. There's our email address on our website. You'll be able to request this document. Okay. What I'll do now, Evan, are we still good? I'll do a little 3-minute video.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So this is our application. It's a journey that goes through the application process. So it's on our portal. This is what you would experience when you submit an application. It is going to move along quite quickly, but there are captions along the way, and I'm going to be giving instructions along the way as well. And so you can always request this. If you don't happen to have a copy of this, you can always request this from us, and we're happy to provide this to you. Okay, so it can help you during the application process. So here we go. So you'd go to our website, swipprogram.ca. There is a big red button, and it's submit an application. And you'll be taken to this screen, which is, you're going to log in if you have a pre-existing account. Otherwise, you'd create a new account. You then have 2 ways to apply for funding. So you can go to this grid at the top there where it says funding, or you can go through these carousel cards. You'll see another big blue button there, apply for funding. For first-time authorizations, you'll go through this process here. And then you'll be taken to this screen. So you can, there's a few options, but for the purpose of this video, you continue with only applying for funding. You'll see what funding terms are available. And there we go. Okay, so right now we have we have 2 funding terms that are open that you will see when you're submitting an application in the next day or so. And we'll ask about eligibility criteria. This is the same calculator that you would have seen on our website. If you are a smaller organization, micro or smaller organization, you won't even have to complete any questions right there. It will take you along to the next section, which is the organization. As the employer, you're going to fill in information about, things like your industry, your business registration number, your address, fairly straightforward. And something to keep in mind is that everything that has a little asterisk, it is a required field. Then you'll be taken to a section about the placement. So you'd include the job title. If it's a co-op, you'd select co-op. You'd include job description information. And other, related information here about the amount per hour, the start date and end date. Just realizing I didn't select the sound option when I was sharing my screen, so you're probably not hearing this lovely elevator music in the background, but you will if you request your own access to this video. Okay, so there's the address here. You'd be indicating if it's a remote, partially remote, or in person, and then some contact information. And then information about the student. So if you don't yet have a student, that's okay. You can still move along with this section. If you do have a student, you would be filling this out. There is a section here that says enter, upload files, but as you'll see the wording, you don't actually have to submit anything in terms of documents at this time. There's a full review, and then you press finish. So I'll stop this and just get out of here. So it's a very quick, short video, done in 3 minutes. You'll see that in general, the application process takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. But yeah, if you do want some additional assistance in completing that application process, that video can really support that process.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. What a great presentation. I think this was such a valuable webinar, so I really appreciate those who joined us and those who will be watching across our social media channels later today. A few thank yous before we wrap up today. I want to sincerely thank U of T Scarborough Arts and Science Co-op for the support of this webinar, and to Antonella and Ed for their partnership and that great presentation you delivered, Antonella. And of course to Lindsay and to Rita from Magnet for your presentation and for sharing some of the really exciting funding opportunities that are available for some CNIC members. The fall is going to be a very, very busy time for the CNIC, and there's lots going on, so we'd like to share some exciting things we have going on. Not all of it can be announced just yet, but we can give you a little preview of some of the things, starting actually with an event in August, just next week, a workshop that we're collaborating with the Canadian Nuclear Laboratories to host on the future of research reactor-enabled isotope research and development in Canada. This is an all-day workshop. You can feel free to register now to join us, and you can pop in and out as need be. But I think this is going to be a very, very fascinating discussion. And also, if we can get the shared screen back up there, thank you. We have a hustling and bustling newsletter that some of you may be subscribed to, but some of you may not be. If you scan that QR code, you should be able to sign up quite easily. That's your best place to stay up to date with all the work that we're doing here at the CNIC. Lots and lots going on in the fall. Not all of it can be announced at the webinar today, but this is the place where you'll be notified. So be sure to scan that QR code if you're not already signed up for the newsletter. You will even get a copy of our monthly newsletter, which will be coming out later this week, or actually next Monday. So keep an eye out for that. Be sure to scan that QR code if you haven't already. And with that, we will close off. And once again, thank our friends at U of T for the information. Thank our friends at Magnet for the great information. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you.